Well, tonight I want to talk to you about actually not just profitability, I want to talk to you about being successful. And if you want to be successful, experience has taught us that there are three parts of your anatomy that you must engage. First, the head. Why? Because the head conceives what needs to be accomplished. It conceives what needs to be done to make that objective happen. Second, you need your hands engaged. Why? Because your hands execute what the head tells it to do. The problem we have, and the reason why so much marketing is not effective, is that the path from the head to the hands must go through the heart. It's not that we don't know what to do. It is that we fail to commit to making it happen. So tonight, under the aegis of being successful, under the aegis of marketing for profitability, I'm going to try and get all of you to commit to three things. Three skills that I think are important at any time, but three skills which are absolutely mission critical, absolutely essential during times of economic crisis and during times when you have an industry facing what is clearly a perfect storm of economic issues. And those three issues are the ability to detect, the ability to destroy, and if you cannot destroy them, then at least avoid the one instrument of economic destruction, the one source of diminished profitability that every business must fight against every day. And by that I mean the dreaded margin-sucking maggot. What an unusual thing for a marketer to talk about. Marketing is supposed to be all about volume, isn't it? That's what most people think of. I'm going to run an ad, I'm going to get more traffic. I'm going to run an ad, I'm going to sell more product. I'm going to run an ad, I'm going to do something, my market share is going to go through the roof. That's what most people think marketing is all about. It's not. The first thing we have to understand is that marketing is really about the same thing everything else in business is about: making money. And it helps, therefore, to start by understanding exactly what that means, making money. Now, this is not an accounting course, but if you think about it, the beauty of making money, the beauty of that scorecard, is that it's not a matter of opinion or theorizing, it's a matter of definition. Net income is what we focus on, and net income is simply the amount of money we make on every unit we sell times the number of units we sell. And that unit margin is simply a difference between two numbers. The prices we charge, front of store, back of store, consultative services, all elements combined, the prices we charge minus the costs that we incur in order to provide those services, those products. Our unit volume is similarly broken down into two parts. It's the size of our market times the percentage of that market that buys from us. And so if you think about this at its most fundamental level, if you're going to make more money, there are really only four paths that you can take, isn't there? You either find a way to get your prices up, you find a way to get your costs down, you find a way to get a bigger share of the existing pie, or you find a way to take a small pie and turn it into a big one. But when we ask people about this in the context of marketing, again, the answer we always come back to is, how does marketing make you more money? The answer almost always comes down to, it's about volume. It's about selling more. It's about selling to more people, whether it's stealing it from the competition or expanding your cachet. Somehow it's about volume. Let's see if that's true. For the average North American business, if I take a product scheduled to sell for $1 and I cut the price of that product by one lousy penny, 1 single %, the moment I do that for the average North American business, I experience an erosion of profitability somewhere in the order of 11.5%. Why? Well, because for the average North American business, if you look at profit as a percentage of sales, it runs about 9%. And so when I take a percentage off price, that percentage goes right to the bottom line. The reduction in profit is not 1 out of 100, it's 1 out of 9 or 11%. And if that's the case, if the only way I can hold business is by giving customers a 10% off coupon, what happens to my profitability? 10 times 11 is more than 100, isn't it? Don't believe me? Don't believe the numbers? Just ask the good folks at Air Canada. Ask the good folks at United Airlines. Ask the good folks at any number of operations where their inability to sustain their price ultimately led to their demise. And for independent pharmacists, it's even worse, because the profit penalty of a 1% price cut for you is about 12.5%. So you can understand then the problems that we have when we start to cut price. Not only that, but we start to open ourselves up to a whole host of social criticisms. How come they can cut price now? They must have been gouging me before, huh? I mean, think about Air Canada. You know what the normal comment you hear from Air Canada and many other places about why price cuts are necessary? Because when the plane takes off, that seat has no value. So anything we can do to generate some traffic must be a good thing to do. And you know what? There's an element of truth to that. Until you ask yourself the question, for how long will you continue to pay $1,000 for a seat when the person next to you just got that seat for half price? And all of a sudden you discover your price ceiling has been destroyed. How serious is that? Well, last numbers I saw for the average independent pharmacist, it costs you about $13 to dispense a prescription. Your remuneration is somewhere around $8 to $9. The average pharmacy processes about 60,000 scripts a year, which means that right out of the box, before you've started making money, you are facing a $300,000 deficit. Suffice it to say, you've got to get control of price. If you cannot control price, all mayhem starts to break out. Now, the reason why it starts to break out, of course, is the simple reality. You've got to make money. Price has to be higher than your cost. And when prices start to come down, because that's the only way you think you can attract more business, your margin, the difference between your price and your cost, it starts to get squeezed. And as it gets squeezed, all of a sudden you start to saying to yourself, I can't live with these margins, therefore I must reduce my cost. I must reduce my cost. And the problem we have there is, it's not a perfect trade-off. It's not a one-to-one trade-off. You see, for the average North American business, every time I reduce my cost of operation by 1%, my income, my profitability only goes up about 7.8%. And what that tells you is this. Every time I reduce my price 1%, I need to reduce my costs by about 1.4% just to stay even with where I started. Boy, those drug technicians start to look pretty attractive, don't they? Because all of a sudden, we've got to get costs down. And as retailers, as service providers, the problem we have is the biggest chunk of controllable cost is people, staff. If you can find them, the next question is, can you afford them? And however bad you think the problem is here, you should see it in Alberta. You should see it in British Columbia. It's even worse in those particular domains. Now, the difficulty we have with staff is this. When I start to reduce staff in an effort to control cost, what happens to my ability to provide a high quality of service? It goes down. And as the quality of my service goes down, what happens to my ability to defend my already depressed price? Goes down too, doesn't it? And now I'm really in a problem. Why? Because I cut price in this attempt to get volume in the easy way. Margins got compressed, I had to cut cost. Quality suffered, prices fell some more, I'm back where I started. Now what do? Well, I can't raise price, I've just destroyed quality, so I cut cost a little more. And quality suffers some more, and on it goes. Technically, we call this incremental product degradation. On the street, we call this efficiently going bankrupt. Welcome to Eaton's of Canada. Welcome to Burke's. Welcome to Starbucks. Welcome to any number of iconic operations that lost their way because at some point in time, they forgot what it was that justified them charging the prices they needed to charge in order to survive.